So I'm gonna be fair to you guys. I can't really intro this too well because I don't know exactly what we're doing here today. I do know the one thing we're going to talk about is the Thunderbolts trailer. So that's all I know, folks. I'm in the dark with you. As a matter of fact, you are getting the description of this episode before you click on it. So you probably know more coming into this than I do.
That's all I like to, that's how I treat people that I really like. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I know.
I bring them over to my house and I make sure they have no idea what's about to transpire.
Yeah.
And regardless of what happens, I know that I'm going to have a good time.
Yeah, I didn't see 10,000 bottles of baby oil, so we should be all right.
Actually, that's where you're wrong.
Oh, it's in the closet?
It's in the closet, dog. Yeah. Just spend all day lining up thousands of bottles of baby oil.
Well, the demand has gone down considerably, so it's probably gotten cheaper.
Someone posted like a meme earlier of like Johnson & Johnson baby oil CEO being like, man, fuck. The stock just plummeted.
Speaking of weird motherfuckers, I watched the Vince documentary.
Oh, yeah. Is it like a mini series or is it like
it's like 6 episodes. It's like 6 hours long.
Yeah.
And, there was for people who are like wrestling fans, like, obviously it's made for anyone to watch it. So a lot of it is like WWE history, things that a lot of people already, people like ourselves already know about. They talk about the screw job, especially if like you're someone who watches Dark Side of the Ring. They talk about the Benoit stuff. They talk about the Monday Night Wars. They talk about the steroid trial. There was a few things in there that I wasn't super familiar with, things that came out. I think the most interesting content in there is probably actually the stuff that's about Shane McMahon and kind of his relationship with his dad.
And why he disappeared for...
Oh, yeah, they go into all of that.
Huh.
Yeah, because essentially, like, Shane was always kind of the one that was, like, mentored, in a sense. I mean, as much as Vince mentored anyone.
Right.
Of, like, you're going to be the next in line. And Shane actually, I don't want to put up too many spoilers out there, but like this is historical events. So Shane actually wanted to buy the UFC back when they were having money problems back in like 2007. So Shane wanted Vince to loan him the money to buy UFC, and it was only like a couple $1 million back then.
Oh, hell yeah.
It was like WCW prices. And I mean, it's funny now that UFC ended up buying them years later, but like Vince could have just bought it then with like, he could have wrote a check, you know?
That's wild.
He just had that money in the couch at the time. But Shane wanted Vince to loan him the money to buy UFC, and he wanted to basically run that to show his dad that he could take the empire over.
Right.
And Vince was like, if you want to buy it, get the money, dog. And, apparently like they split heads like on everything regarding WWE, like
really
pretty much they had the opposite ideas creatively.
So. They may have spoken on this on the doc. Didn't Vince have to borrow money to buy WWF? Because it was like he got it from his dad for like $1 million, right?
Yeah, so they actually tell the story about that is essentially his dad loaned him the money. And he had a contract with the board of directors because even WWF, it wasn't a publicly traded company, but they still had a board of directors. And he had a contract with them that was like a series of payments. Like the payment structure was all laid out, and basically they were paying them with the money that the company was making. So essentially, what happened? The reason the board agreed to it, because in the agreement was like, if he misses a payment, then that's it. Like, they keep the company and he gets none of the money back, nothing. And everyone, including his dad, apparently thought he was going to fail, that he was going to fuck up, and that he wouldn't make it. But he said when he made the last payment, like the look on their faces was like beautiful. And you almost at that point kind of want to root for Vince.
Yeah.
But like, there's only so disgusted you can become with a person, you know?
Yeah.
Before you like can't become any more disgusted with them. And like, I'm going to tell you, there's a reason Vince tried to buy the documentary from Netflix. Because he did. He tried to pay them
for it.
So he could just keep it from coming out. Because in the light of everything that came out, it makes him look incredibly bad. Like, there's comments and stuff that he makes where, like, if the Janelle Grant stuff had not come out,
Yeah.
you would just be like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird. But, like,
in light
of that, you're like, that's kind of, I mean, there's even, like, Steph is in there talking about, like, yeah, you know, looking back on some of the stuff my dad asked me to do on TV, some of that seems kind of weird now, you know?
Bro, like, a lot of it has always seemed weird, right? But, like, I don't think that we as wrestling fans ever really thought much of it. I mean, I just assumed that Vince was just a real life eccentric kind of guy, you know?
Yeah.
Which is why he had all kinds of weird shit on his TV at times.
Yeah.
You know? The Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club, all of the gratuitous weirdness that we got at certain points. But it's crazy. I got to check that out.
And, of course, they got Tony Atlas on there.
Oh.
You know, Tony Atlas will rat out anybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That man loves to talk.
Yeah, he does, and they got him. And Tony Atlas is he tells a story about where Pat Patterson would just come up and grab his dick in the locker room.
Man, I've heard so many Pat Patterson stories.
And the interviewer's like, "Well, why aren't you telling anyone?" And he's like, "Who the fuck I'm gonna tell?
Yeah,
Vince, just to get sent home?"
Right.
He's like, "Lady, this is the wrestling business in the '80s.
Yeah,
there wasn't nobody to tell. Like, you either dealt with it or you went home. That was it." And
HR. Well, I wonder what passed for HR back then.
Vince was HR. Yeah, there wasn't no HR. So yeah, it's a very interesting watch through. I happened to be in the bed all day because I just got over a cold, and it just so happened that I was laid up. So I was like, I'm gonna watch 6 hours of this Vince McMahon documentary.
Yeah,
it does not look good. Hulk Hogan is in there lying. I don't know if that shocks you at all.
That's fucking crazy. Not the Hulkster.
Yeah.
He would never.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I got to check that out, man. There's so much I got to check out.
So, speaking of, Thunderbolts put out this teaser trailer. And it's supposedly a teaser, but it's 3.5 minutes long. I'll go ahead and tell you, man, I really am digging it. Like, it could just be a great trailer. But I will say at a bare minimum, it makes me really want to see the movie.
Yeah, I dig the not teaser trailer.
Yeah. The full-on preview of the movie.
Right. I think that this trailer does itself a lot of favors. And one, and again, like just looking at the trailer and not really assessing anything about the movie, but looking at the trailer, it looks like the gratuitous humor has been toned down, which I think is a must.
Yeah. Yelena's conversation with Red Guardian almost seemed like sincere and like legitimate.
Yeah. And like they still have, David Harbour. He didn't seem quite so banana slipping ridiculous, but he still kind of had those Red Guardian quirks about him, I guess. But I mean, it did feel like an actual conversation between two people versus a person and like a weird caricature.
It even seems like Ghost might even have something to do in this movie.
Oh, well, let's not get crazy.
So the thing that everybody's really talking about, though, is the asterisk in the name.
Yeah.
Which Kevin Feige has confirmed is there intentionally, What do you make of that? Do you think this is going to change into like Dark Avengers or something? Do you think we're going to get a different team name by the end of this?
I don't know. And I won't say that I've been racking my brain, but I've just kind of been mulling it over slightly about what the asterisk could possibly stand for, I mean, like you pointed out, we're still like 8 months away from the release of the movie. So I haven't really bothered to like go back in and like dig through the comics yet to see, what if there's any kind of asterisks or anything like that,
It's coming out in May, right?
May or March.
I thought that isn't Cap coming out in like February?
Yeah.
They wouldn't put them that close together, would they?
Probably not.
I mean, I'm fine if they do. It just seems like you want to spread it out.
But you know what? Maybe they would. I mean, again, this is all assuming that Thunderbolt Ross is in the Thunderbolts, but maybe they,
Right.
maybe there's some kind of strong connective tissue there. I don't know.
It seems like there would have to be.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I had it pulled up here.
You mean
I rewatched it not long ago?
MCU movies that have some connectivity? That's crazy.
Okay, yeah, you're right. May. It is May 2025.
Okay.
But yeah, what do you think the asterisk means? What do you think they're trying to do there?
I think they're going to have a team name by the end of it. I don't know if it's going to be Dark Avengers or how they're going to go about it, but I think something other than Thunderbolts at the end.
What if most of them, if not all of them, just get obliterated?
Yeah, I mean, I think Yelena's safe, but like, I could see anybody else being killed. Maybe U.S. Agent. They keep him around. I'm very intrigued into like where he's at, you know,
Same.
mentally, because the guy did a great job.
Oh yeah.
He's a very interesting character.
Yeah.
I do think it's very clear that they were sent on a suicide mission. Not trying to make any comparisons here, but
They did it for you.
yeah, I mean, they did. You know, this is Marvel's Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I mean, do they? I mean, I think the cast for it seems pretty good. I have the concerns that you have about a lot of them have the same powers, but the little bit of action that we get in the trailer is really good.
Yeah.
It looks great.
Yeah, it was a really good action, I thought, in that little bit we got there. And so it looks like they were all kind of set up on a dummy mission to go retrieve something, and that something is probably the Sentry.
And they probably thought that he was going to kill them all.
Yeah. But who sent them on the dummy mission? Was it Madam Hydra?
I think so, probably.
That's kind of fucked up of her to do. Yeah.
Also, it seems like she purchased Avengers Tower.
Right.
Because in that scene where she's talking to all of them,
Yeah.
that's like people have done comparisons on the skyline, and it's Avengers Tower. It's like in the same spot.
So within the realms of the MCU, wouldn't Pepper own that?
Well, no, they sold it. Remember in Homecoming, because Vulture was moving all the
Oh
stuff.
yeah, that's right. They did. They moved. Yeah.
Vulture
Happy
was moving the
Hogan
stuff.
was-
They
yeah.
were moving the stuff, and Vulture was trying to rob the
Yeah.
plane that was taking the stuff to the Avengers compound.
Yeah, to the new Avengers HQ. Yeah.
because they had sold the building.
yeah, they sold the tower.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and it seems like she's probably the one that has bought it.
I wonder why.
Well, I kind of wonder if the government is trying to set up their own Avengers, right? Like they're trying to make up their own Avengers team.
Yeah, and so they gathered together these group of, I mean, let's call it what it is, like elite spies and killers.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really what they are. To go do some shit that maybe is too unsavory to be an Avengers team. You know, you can't have the Avengers going out there maybe doing things that are against U.S. policy or whatnot.
The movie seems to have a very dark tone, which I'm kind of hopeful about.
Yeah, and I hope so. And again, like I think that good editing can really make a movie, or a trailer can really make a movie look like that. And hopefully the movie does deliver on that aspect, you know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be some humor in
Yeah.
the movie. I mean, there's humor in the fucking Dark Knight Rises, and that's a dark-ass movie.
It's in the name.
Also, the trailer almost makes it look like Bucky is trying to stop them.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Like, I like how he rolls up on the caravan, and they're all like, oh, that's not good.
Right.
And it looks like we got, like, the fucking Winter Soldier here. This, you know,
I mean, that's what we need. Like, what's he been doing?
he's a senator now or some shit, isn't he?
Who the fuck would... Okay.
I mean, he was wearing a suit. He was walking around with the fancy government folk.
He was wearing a suit, but I'm like... Because, like, I don't know. I guess, like, in my mind, like, the idea of this man being in politics...
After being a serial killer is crazy. But, hey, I mean, you know, they did elect a dead pimp in Las Vegas once.
What?
Yeah, that happened a couple years ago. So what happened is, I think it was for a House of Representatives seat, if I'm not mistaken. It may have been for the state Senate, but yeah, in this one district in Nevada, they elected this guy. He was a pimp. He died before the actual votes came in, but he still won. So the people in Nevada actually elected a dead pimp.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
What's his name? Slickback.
I don't think so.
Oh,
yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it was let's see. I have to look this up because it's funny as fuck.
Yeah, that's some wild shit.
Yeah, I mean, so Bucky Barnes.
Yeah,
it's not really that crazy. Yeah, it was Dennis Hoff. It was in 2018. Yeah, it was a Nevada state election.
What the fuck?
Yeah, the guy had he was known as the P.T. Barnum of Booty.
Now I'm upset I never got the chance to meet the guy.
Yeah, he was a brothel owner.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, he died before the the actual election was certified or whatever. But yeah, he won anyway.
Brothels have been ruined for me. Out of context, that sounds like a wild sentence.
It does, yeah.
But the reason being is because my first exposure to brothels was from Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was just like a titty bar / brothel. And I was like, well, clearly I didn't want to go to one of those because there's fucking vampires.
Yeah. and then Littlefinger, with all his people get killed in there all the time.
All the time, yeah. And it's like if a knife doesn't get you, then the STDs will.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And there was no fixing those back then.
Yeah, no.
Have some milk with a poppy and go lay down.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and maybe you'll get back up, maybe you won't.
Right.
I think it's the thing that's interesting to me about the Thunderbolts trailer is there's the scene with Madam Hydra where she has them all assembled there, but then in the other part of the trailer, it kind of looks like where they arrive and meet the Sentry. It kind of looks like different people sent them all. Like they don't know that everybody else is there.
So I think that those were shot out of order, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it was still Madam Hydra that sent them all, but maybe through various means.
Yeah, they didn't know about it.
Yeah.
They didn't know they were all there for the same reason.
Exactly, like an anonymous employer or something, That's what I assume. Now, still to what end is going to be interesting. So for those of you who don't know, Sentry is, in terms of power, he's attempt number 78 of Marvel to create a version of Superman. I really like the Sentry. I think he's a really cool and compelling character.
All the way up.
All the way up. Power of a splousing. 1,000 exploding suns.
A splousing?
A splousing. Yeah. That's how many exploding suns. Wow. Yeah. We don't technically see Robert Reynolds become Sentry, but maybe that's what they're saving for the trailer.
Oh, yeah. Like, this was just a teaser, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very clear, right, that they want to establish that the MCU is going in a new direction here. Mm-hmm. From the Thunderbolts trailer, from the Cap trailer. And I think everybody is on board with yeah, please.
Absolutely, man. Like looking back at what felt like the dark ages of the MCU.
Yeah,
coming out of that, man, you can't help but be hopeful. 2025 has to be the year that the MCU really picks back up, especially since again James Gunn is coming back with his own type shit.
Yeah, I mean we got Superman Legacy coming out in July, so like the MCU, I mean obviously right now they're on a nice upswing.
Yes.
But the MCU has always been able to pop up a triple here and there. Mm-hmm. But like that doesn't mean that the rest of the game was good.
Yeah.
Ever since Endgame, this has been talked about at length, so we don't have to go too far into it, but it's like I think we all expected them to kind of stumble out of the gate from Endgame because it's like,
how do you
have to come down from that, right? But, I think a lot of us thought, okay, well, WandaVision will be a different thing. And then Falcon and Winter Soldier will be a different thing. And then, slowly but surely they're going to start building up to another thing. And they just never did that.
Yeah.
And what they did try to do wasn't working. Particularly with Kang. I mean, Kang wasn't working even before the allegations came out,
right?
Against Jonathan Majors. So,
yeah, and again, like we've beaten this horse to death. But
right?
How do you expect anyone to get excited about a villain who had been bested in hand-to-hand combat by Scott Lang?
Yeah, not Ant-Man, just Scott Lang.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. I think it's like I think they understand that. Hey, if you want Doomsday to be this big success, which hopefully it will be, you've got to start putting the building blocks together right now. So hopefully they're going to do that. They have a little bit to build off of already, and hopefully they'll keep going in that direction. Speaking of Doomsday, I sent you a thing the other day. It's not official, but it's heavily rumored, and I'm hearing it from a lot of different sources, and that could just be the same sources all repeating the same shit. But it's heavily rumored Tom Holland has signed a new contract. Doomsday, we've talked about this before. His old contract still had one movie left on it, a team up of some kind. It's going to be Avengers Doomsday.
Right.
But the rumor is that he has signed a new contract to star in Spider-Man 4, 5, and 6, collaboration between Sony and Disney like the first 3 were, and also 2 additional, Secret Wars and 2 additional MCU films. What do you think about that? You think first off, do you think there's any truth to it? And then also, how do you feel about the news if it is true?
The only thing about it that would give me hesitation as to whether or not that's true would be Tom Holland's commitment to staying on for that much longer, because we're talking easily another 10, 12 years.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at probably 2-3 years between each Spider-Man. What Secret Wars is 2027?
I think it's been pushed back to then, yeah.
Because Doomsday is 2026.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you're looking at probably one Spider-Man before Secret Wars, we would hope. And then you're going to have another Spider-Man after Secret Wars. And it's very possible, they're probably going to film Doomsday and Secret Wars like they did Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that Tom Holland could go and film a Spider-Man movie, get right out of that, and go into filming 2 fucking Avengers films, and then pop right out of that and go right into filming the next Spider-Man, because that's what happened to him last time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And he seemed, just in various interviews or whatnot, to be maybe a little bit burned out.
Oh, yeah, he became an alcoholic over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to throw you under the bus there, Tom, but you're Spider-Man, you'll survive it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what you do. You go through hard times and you come back out on the other end, Yeah, but that would be the only thing that would cause me to think if this is true or not. Otherwise, I think that Sony and Marvel both definitely want to do this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Tom Holland has to be the holdout on all of that. I mean, he's probably getting paid very, very well.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no telling when those other 2 Avengers team ups will happen, because you got to think, when he signed his last contract, that was right before Infinity War?
I think so.
And
sounds right.
And at the time that he signed that shit, and that was 2017 that he probably signed that last one. It was and a team up movie. That team up movie is Avengers Doomsday. Damn near 10 years later,
right.
8 years later. So, I mean, he's basically, if he has signed that contract as described, that's the next 10 years of his life.
Oh, absolutely. I guess the thing about this all that, and this is just the creative in me, the lover of story in me that doesn't like this, is they have all this planned out, but they actually have nothing planned out.
No.
I mean, clearly, the team of movies, they have an idea what they want to do for those.
Right.
And Spider-Man 4, I imagine they have an idea now as to what they want to do for that. But man, Spider-Man 5 and 6, I doubt they have anything. Like it's just one of those things where they're like, we know we want to do at least another set of these movies, so let's go ahead and pencil them down, and then we'll figure out all the details later.
If this contract signing and everything is true, it does make me think that there might be something to the whole. They're going to introduce Null in Venom 3, and then he's going to be in the MCU after that. Because I could see if they're going to do 3 more Spider-Man movies that they could go in that direction. Because they're not going to do 3 more Spider-Man movies without introducing at least Miles or the symbiote. Mm-hmm. Ideally, they would do both, right? Yeah. I mean, they have to do one of the two at the bare minimum. Because, I mean, what's left for them to do? They could do a Sinister Six, maybe. But, I mean, you kind of got to wait for that. Right. Honestly, if you're going to do that, you should do it with the 6th movie.
And, you know, I don't know if there's any truth to this. Maybe you know more than I do. But I've heard that that for every Spider-Man entity that Sony uses, MCU cannot. And I don't know if there's anything that disputes that we've seen.
Well, they both used a Vulture.
Yeah, I guess the difference though there is that MCU used Vulture first, and then they used same version of Vulture and put him in a cameo.
Well, obviously, this new deal has to be something has to be a structure between Sony and Disney as well. It's not just them with Tom Holland. This has got to be an insanely complicated contract, right? Because it's an agreement between Sony and Disney, but at the same time, it's also an agreement for those two companies with Tom Holland.
Yeah.
So it's like a very crazy kind of contract scenario because it's like he's the linchpin, right? Like,
oh yeah.
Obviously, without Tom Holland, there's no deal.
Right.
And without Sony, there's no deal, and without Disney, there's no deal that we want to happen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, yeah, the whole Tom Holland thing right now, man, is I don't know. I think it's interesting, and I just hope that we get more good movies out of it.
Yeah.
And it probably does end with a Peter and Miles team up against the Sinister Six.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also would like that. So, I guess the other thing is you mentioned this a little earlier about Noel. On a previous episode, we spoke about the possibility of him coming from the Sonyverse into the MCU.
Maybe he'll delete it. He'll delete the Sonyverse.
Ooh, that would be great. But I got a feeling they want to give Eddie and Venom this happy send-off.
That's a happy send-off.
I mean, for us, sure.
Yeah. Because I mean, if Noel deletes the Sonyverse, when they show up in the MCU, I'm gonna be cheering for Noel. I'm gonna be like, "Thank you, Noel, for doing all this good."
But my worry is this: I don't want to see Noel in Spider-Man 4.
No.
The fuck?
I don't. I mean, Noel is an Avengers level threat.
Absolutely.
Like he's even beyond them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, is that maybe a potential Avengers villain? Are they going to try to factor him into Secret Wars somehow? Like, I mean, obviously, in somebody's mind, somebody's got to be going, all right, well, what's Avengers 7 going to be?
Yeah.
Somebody somewhere, Kevin Feige has to be thinking about that.
Right.
We hope.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure at this point they've learned their lesson. Okay, we got to think more about this shit ahead of time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, he could be a good way for them to go Avengers 7. I mean, obviously, I think everybody knows that after Secret Wars, we're going to be very firmly into the mutant era. Like, they're going to go hard with X-Men at that point.
Yeah. I think the X-Men make a lot of people hard. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The mutant saga of things, I think, would be a very interesting turn of events just because there's so many different avenues they can go. And I don't want to be pessimistic. I just want to put this on the table. There's so many ways they can fuck it up too.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
and I just really need them to reel it all in. Hey, look, I know Bo DeMaio did some bad things. All right, terrible things that should never be done. People shouldn't be treated the way that Bo treated people.
Yeah,
we agree with that. We also agree that X-Men '97 was spectacular.
Yeah, just let him write the scripts from home.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Just don't let him interact with anyone.
Exactly, yeah. You know? I think, yeah.
He just sends in the scripts.
Right.
You guys drop the money in his account. And
then,
we're all happy. Yeah.
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 Yeah, nobody's been molested in any kind of way. Everyone's good. Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate, man. The line between, like, you know, people being insanely creative and then also depraved.
Oh yeah,
because you know they got Neil Gaiman too. He did some shit.
I heard about that. Yeah,
and I actually saw this shit going around on TikTok or whatever, and there was like somebody on there that was like, "Well, Brandon Sanderson would never," and I was like, "Yeah, if there's anybody we don't have to worry about, it's probably him. Fame doesn't really seem like it's affected him at all." I saw actually a video of this YouTuber, and people have been telling her to read his books.
Yeah.
And so she goes to the bookstore to buy a copy of Mistborn, and all of his books are off the shelf. They're all gone.
Damn.
The bookstore knew he was coming, so they pulled them. So Brandon Sanderson's actually sitting there with a cart with all his books on it because he pulled them all off. The bookstore pulled them all off so he could sign them and then put them back on the shelf. Huh. And he does this. He stops in at random bookstores and does this. And so she comes over and she's like, "I actually came here to buy your book." And so he just is like, "Oh, well, yeah, this is the one you want, actually. These are the new covers. I really like these." And then he's like, "You want your name in it?" And he, like, signed it for her and everything.
Wow.
And just, you know, it's just very clear that, like, fame just hasn't affected the guy at all. Which I really like. But, yeah. Hopefully you do no fucked up shit, Brandon.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because, like in the MMA world, similar sentiments are said about George St. Pierre. Like, this guy's too good of a person. Right. This got to be something. Like, does he drown kittens and we just don't know it?
No, he kicks the shit out of people. That's his release. He fought Captain America.
He did fight Captain America. I'll never forget Anthony Mackie was speaking during an interview after Falcon and Winter Soldier, and he was talking about when he was filming a fight scene with Batroc, who was, of course, played by GSP. And he was like, "Yeah, man, there was one woman where, like, he kind of actually, like, laid in a little bit, like, with one of the hits." And, but, you know, he was very apologetic about it, you know, and it was cool. And I was like, and if it wasn't?
Yeah. I mean, what were you going to do?
Right. Yeah. Your options are extremely limited.
Yeah, you can run.
You're right.
You can get that wingsuit out and fly the fuck off.
Yeah. One more thing I wanted to speak on here, and that is the casting of Hal Jordan in the DCU.
They were bound and determined, bro.
They were, man. They were. And they finally got a silver fox they've been looking for. Kyle Chandler, I believe is his name. And he will be playing Hal Jordan in the DCU. He's actually even older than Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
He'll be in his early 60s by the time we see his portrayal of Hal Jordan.
It's interesting, man, because it's like, I mean, I called this, you know, I just want to put it out there that I called this. They're trying to get to Jon Stewart.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason I didn't call it is because I don't think it's a great idea. I love the idea of Jon Stewart being like the main focus for the Green Lanterns. What I don't like is making Hal this much older, possibly weathered version who was mentoring a younger John, because to me it just kind of kills their friendship. Like it alters it a lot. Right. Like I don't feel like they will look at each other as, you know, constituents or equals. I feel like they will look at each other as like, okay, you're the older mentor, and I'm trying to, like, to a lesser degree, that age gap feels like Peter and Miles, you know what I mean?
Right.
And their relationship shouldn't really feel that way.
I mean, they might cast a 45-year-old Jon Stewart.
If they could. They're still younger than 60.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not trying to be ageist here. I think that that Kyle Chandler would probably do a really great job. I mean, he looks like Hal Jordan.
He does.
And I think from some things that I may have seen him in, I think that he certainly has the chops for it. So I'm not concerned about his performance. I'm just more concerned about the type of story they're trying to tell with it.
Yeah, and also like longevity for the franchise, right? The DCU is starting up.
Yeah. I thought this was a mistake when with Ben Affleck when they cast him as Batman.
And it was.
Yeah.
In hindsight, it was a huge mistake.
Yeah, I mean, it ultimately didn't really matter because, it didn't go anywhere. But it's like, let's say that the DCEU had sustained more longevity. What are you going to do when Ben Affleck is, I was going to say when he's 55, but that's what age Bruce was when he was in Dark Knight Returns. Yeah. But, you get the point,
you can't start there.
Yeah, you can't start there, though, yeah. So it's like, what are you going to do when he can't do that anymore?
When they cast him, if I'd have gone back and told you that, like, he was never going to get a Batman movie, you'd have been like, no.
Like, that's fucking dumb.
Be like if I told you that this very podcast was going to review Mean Girls before we reviewed The Dark Knight Returns.
I hate that you pointed that out. I might go in and edit out that sentence and then delete Mean Girls and then re-upload it.
Like after the fact?
Yeah. Just so,
just to undo that.
Right.
That very strange reality.
Yeah, that fucking weird conundrum. That's just one of those episodes that I always kept in the back pocket, I guess, and forgot it was there.
Yeah.
Like, well, I can always just review Dark Knight Returns one day.
Yeah, if I hadn't said anything, guys, we may still not have talked about it. Great episode, by the way.
Absolutely. Check it out.
The YouTube algorithm is weird, man. I've been like looking at the YouTube stuff, and obviously that's like a kind of new audience for us.
Right.
That's the newbies.
What up?
Nothing. Yeah. We're very glad you're here, but if you look at it, it's like the like greatest redemption arcs. You guys didn't give a fuck about that. Great episode. But the algorithm ran off with that Crow review. I guess people wanted to see how bad it was.
I guess so. It was fucking weird, right? But
is it different from the audio numbers? Like, are they very different from how the YouTube algorithm is?
Yeah, but yes and no. Like the trends are similar. Where like if a number is like way high on YouTube, then it'll be super up on audio platforms, and and vice versa. Like if it's lower on YouTube, it'll typically be lower on audio.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've noticed this over the years. You guys love the review shit. But man, like some of my favorite episodes are the ones where we just talk about the whys and hows of storytelling and whatnot. So yeah, check out the Character Redemption episode if you guys haven't done so already.
It's great content. It really is fantastic. Like, I know you guys come here to hear us shit on things, and we do that
in spades.
We do a lot. We've been doing a lot of it here lately. And there's a lot more to come, actually, in the very, very near future. We're going to be reviewing Suicide Squad Isekai on Saturday, and I feel like I might be the most fond of it, and that's not good for it.
Think about what that means.
Yeah.
Have you finished it yet, by chance?
I'm waiting.
Okay.
Probably like tomorrow, I'll probably watch the last 2 episodes. But I'm waiting because as soon as we get done reviewing it, my brain is going to delete this shit.
That's actually a really good point. Like, my brain was actively trying to delete it as I was watching it.
Like, wait, did I watch the last episode? Did I skip one? Oh, I already forgot.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's definitely a show that you guys can watch.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of new TV, before we get into the main event tonight, I did promise a very lengthy cold open.
You did.
Have you watched Agatha or Penguin yet?
As much as I hate to say it, no, because I've been finishing fucking Suicide Squad Isekai.
So you have finished it?
I have.
Was the last 2 episodes, were they?
They were episodes of television.
About the same as the rest of it? Or okay, all right. I gotta say, thus far, I'm actually really liking both. I really want to see what happens next on Penguin. I really want to see what happens next on Agatha.
Not to spoiler alert, is what episode are they on in Agatha?
3.
Have you seen 3?
Not yet.
Okay, I won't say anything then.
No, because me and Kay are watching it together, and I've been sick, so Probably watch it this weekend.
I was just doom scrolling and
Got spoiled.
yeah, I mean, apparently it's like a really minor thing, but if you're like in the zeitgeist, then it's like they did the thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, and man, I'm so happy and upset that they did this because now it's gonna be a whole thing again.
Well, it's got to be Mephisto.
It's
really.
Mephisto.
Yeah, they had to have dropped
They
Mephisto.
name dropped Mephisto. Apparently.
Oh yeah. I'm sure that. Oh yeah, I'm sure the internet. I hope everybody got their white pants on. They kind of had to, right?
At some point, you know.
It's very clear that. I mean, just from the first 2 episodes, they did some like creepy shit in the show so far. I'm really digging it. It's definitely a very hocus pocus type thing. Mm-hmm. And it's, Halloween right around this time is good. But in the vein of that, I think it's actually quite good. I think the writing is good, and I think the acting is very good. It's way fucking better than I had any expectation of it being.
I think my biggest fear for Agatha House of All Along is I was so afraid that like this show wouldn't mean anything. Like, what is the point and purpose of this show?
Well, I can't guarantee that it's gonna fucking mean anything. That is kind of my thing while I'm watching. It's like I am enjoying this, but I can totally see it being a nothing burger and not meaning anything to the larger MCU. And that would be fine if we hadn't just got like 40 things that had nothing,
Yeah.
It's like if this was a one-off and it didn't mean anything to the greater MCU, okay,
Yeah,
fine.
that's fine, yeah.
Whatever. But we've just gotten tons of that, you know,
Right.
and it's just like at some point we need something to mean something now. So I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying Penguin. I think you're gonna love it. It is very gangster movie, Sopranos type deal.
I do like that stuff.
Yeah, it's very much in the vein of like a Better Call Saul or or something like that.
Yeah, that is up my alley. My crime alley.
No. The production value is incredible. It's a step down from the Batman, obviously, but because they got to make some money somewhere. But I think you're gonna really enjoy it. I'm also concerned about it becoming nothing,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
So I've been thinking, right, and then I promise, guys, we'll actually get started on like an actual episode.
On whatever we're doing.
Yeah. I don't know. But I've been thinking about this, and obviously Matt Reeves wants to go the more grounded, more realistic type approach for Batman and for like his rogue gallery and whatnot. And they got me thinking, like, hopefully then with the DCU, we can get the more fantastical elements of Batman and his rogue gallery. I think that'd be really fucking cool. Like, we might not, like, even though I would love to see Clayface and Matt Reeves' Batman verse, I can see us not getting that because of the type of story he's trying to tell here. But in that case, then let me get that in the DCU. And like with something like Mr. Freeze, he could kind of go either way, I feel.
Yeah, I agree. They got to cast him properly.
Well, before we talk about, casting, we've already decided Bryan Cranston was a perfect Victor Freeze. And we all agree on that, and it doesn't need to be discussed any further.
Okay.
Yeah, But
Whatever you want.
I'm glad you agree. I did see a rumor, though, that apparently Matt Reeves wanted or may be in talks to do like a Freeze solo movie.
That would be interesting. Like,
Yeah.
I think it would be very interesting for us to get a Victor Freeze more in line with the animated series.
Yeah.
Because that is, I think, a lot of people's favorite interpretation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Paul Dini, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, what's the other guy?
Bruce Timm?
Yeah, Bruce Timm.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, and that reminds me, I also need to get caught up on the Cape Crusader as well.
I should watch any of that.
Yeah. Actually, I think the next thing up that I wanted to do was probably going to be The Watchmen, because that's just one thing, and I love The Watchmen.
Yes, I need to watch that also.
So,
Need to watch The Watchmen.
Well, there you have it, folks. Well, now that we've given you guys a very gratuitous 45-minute brief cold open.
A comic news episode, essentially.
That's really what that was. Half comic news episode. I think it's time for proper introductions. Homies one and all, may I welcome you to a very special episode of the Superhero Homies podcast. My name is Quentin, and as always, I'm here with my fantabulous co-host, the homie Caleb.
Man, I mentioned I was a little sick earlier this week.
Yeah.
So I made a very big mistake. I read all of the preview chapters for Wind and Truth, which is the new Stormlight book. There's 15 preview chapters out. And the book is long as fuck when they can release like 30 preview chapters.
I was just thinking about that. Like, how long is that goddamn book?
Yeah, they release in 2 chapters like every Monday.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. It's the longest book he's ever written and the book he has spent the most time on. But anyway, I made the mistake of reading the first 15 chapters of the book that's about to come out. And they're fucking phenomenal. Like, all of it. Like, every second of it. And they cliffhanger me. So, like, I got to wait till Monday to read, like, the next 2 chapters. And I feel like they're not even going to have shit to do with the cliffhanger. Yeah, I just, I wasn't really in, like, a mental state to really, like, pay attention to, like, TV. I didn't want to get up and play video games or anything. So I was just like... And I typically hate reading on a screen.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, I started that shit, and like the next 3 hours was just
man.
I don't know if I even blinked. Like I was just glued to it, man. I couldn't stop. And then when I got to the end, I was like, next chapter, what the fuck? I can't talk about any of it, obviously, but yeah.
What's the release date on that?
It's gonna be on December 8th. Well, I'm gonna be there.
That's right. You're gonna be up there at the.
Yeah, I mean the good news is I'm gonna be one of the first people in the world to get the book.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So there's that.
As soon as I get it, I'm going right back to the hotel room and just
right.
May not even go to the rest of the con.
Well, homies, you and Caleb might be wondering what today's episode is all about.
I would love to know.
Well, I'm glad you asked. About 4, I think at this point, closer to 5 years ago, I did an episode in similar vein with the homie Kevin.
Oh, dear.
And the whole idea was, for those of you who are new here to the podcast, the homie Kevin, the previous co-host, just here talking with us about The Dark Knight Returns. He is very passionate about his opinions, especially when something is god-awful to him. And
I have heard that.
Yes.
Never witnessed it myself.
Oh, of course. Well,
I've seen it. I've heard about it.
And what I did was I took it upon myself to create a tournament style bracket full of all the worst movies that he hates in order to determine the one true shittiest superhero movie, according to Kevin, according to the winners and losers that he selected here. Like I said, this was, I think, back in 2019 when we did that episode. And then I did it on hand and, with a notebook very similar to this one. And I need to find that notebook, by the way. It's got like all my old notes in there. Shit could be worth money one day. But I figured, you know what? There's better ways to do this. So I put yours in an app that created a bracket for me.
Upgrade.
And so what we're going to do, Caleb, is mathematically decide which of these movies do you really detest the most.
Oh, great.
So we have 16 movies here. And I made sure that these are all movies that you've seen. So guys, like I didn't include movies like the Supergirl movie. I didn't include movies like Superman Quest for Peace.
Which I have seen, but admittedly it's been so long that I couldn't talk about it at any length.
Yeah.
Great. I'm sure that finding 16 films that I hated was an endeavor,
It was super tough.
Yeah, I bet it was.
Yeah, I was like, man, he loves all of these so much. Like so I mean, even though you probably love half of these movies, just humor us and pretend that you don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you ready for this, Kate?
I'm ready. I was born ready.
I believe it.
Somebody's going to ask for my opinion.
So I want to hear your thoughts on these and why you chose the one that you chose.
Okay. Okay.
And by the way, with this style bracket, I did this as fairly as I could. So I just input all the movies and then I randomized them so that I didn't know what order they would be presented in.
Okay. So it's not a situation where the first round is going to be very easy.
No.
I could have to pick between two god awfuls.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And again, the goal here is to find the absolute worst movie.
Okay.
Not the best of the worst, the worst of the worst.
Okay. All right.
All right. So to start things off here, round 1, The Flash versus X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Oh, God. Wow, we just came right out of the gate with that, huh? This is an interesting one, right? Because I feel like that I hate the Flash more than your average human being. Even more than your average comic book fan, even though people are always confused by this because I think I gave it like a 7 when we reviewed it.
You gave it like a 6.
Maybe, something like that.
Yeah.
But if you hear me talk about the movie, you're like, this motherfucker definitely gave it like a 2.5. The thing is, and I said this during the review, I have to give my objective score as if Flashpoint doesn't exist.
Right.
Right? I'm just reviewing this as a movie. I'm not reviewing it as an adaptation of Flashpoint. As an adaptation of Flashpoint, it gets the absolute, like, it's fucking drizzling shits. But what I gave it in the review is like, I could turn my brain off and give it this, you know? So I explained that shit. I really hate this movie. I do not have a hard dick for Michael Keaton Batman. I know a lot of people do, and to each their own. For you. It doesn't do it for me. I love 89.
Yeah.
I'll sit down and watch 89. You know, I don't think he did a bad job.
I'll give you some bail on this one. Like when I really think about it objectively, because I also really love 89. But man, the moments that I think about and quote the most are typically Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
And this is nothing against Keaton, because I think that he proved a lot of people wrong. They didn't think he could pull it off.
He did, yeah. And he did, I think, a great job. And I think he probably did, if you think about it, like the way that Batman was viewed then, right? We're going from the fucking Adam West.
Yeah.
That's like the most recent shit that people had seen was Adam West Batman. So you take that and you go right into 89, and it's just like, he couldn't, like, I'm not saying that they ever wanted to, but he couldn't have gone any darker than he did.
Yeah.
Because you can't go from Adam West to fucking Christian Bale.
Right.
Or even Val Kilmer's Batman, which was very dark. So, you know, I give him a lot of leeway on that. But the fact that, like, a lot of people just kind of enshrine him as, like, the Batman, and I'm just like, he's not even in my top 3, you know?
Right.
Which would be Bale, Conroy, and I hate to say it, it's probably Pattinson, you know, as far as like acting in the suit. And then he's not number 4 either, folks. But I don't want to get into that. I don't want to ruin my cred.
So they're already hitting the delete button.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin my cred. I really hate Flashpoint, but I say all of this, the movie's not called Flashpoint; it's called The Flash. I love Flashpoint. I really hate The Flash. The trailer, like Zod's in the trailer about the same amount he's in the movie.
Yeah.
But Sasha Cale is
Yes.
in The Flash, and she fucking killed it. I love the Supergirl that we're getting in the DCU, though. I hate that it's like I feel bad for Sasha Cale because I feel like she really did a good job. But the chick that's playing her in the DCU, I'm so hyped for her. I think she's gonna absolutely she's gonna be the definitive Kara. I believe
It's good casting.
it is.
Yeah.
That being said, Dark Phoenix is fucking awful. It's hard for me. If Dark Phoenix wins the whole thing, I would not be shocked. There are not really very many redeemable qualities of this movie. Like, when I sit down and think about it, it's very hard for me to come out with a positive. So for this one, I'm going to say, I'm picking the worst movie, right?
Correct.
I'm going to go with Dark Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix. I thought that was a really good round, man. Like, because I know those are two tough movies.
Especially for me, like,
Right.
I feel like for the average person, you're immediately be like, Dark Phoenix, but
Yeah,
like,
for
I
you.
hate The Flash.
Right.
Like, I really just fucking detest that movie.
Next up, curious to get your thoughts on this one as well. We have 2011 Green Lantern, the only Green Lantern movie, versus 2017 Justice League.
Okay, this one's easier, actually.
Okay.
This was a lot easier. I remember. I haven't seen Green Lantern recently.
Mm-hmm.
I probably saw it twice. I probably saw it in theaters, and then I probably saw it at home once or twice.
Yeah.
I will say that in 2011, my opinion, that came out in 2011?
Yeah. Crazy, right?
That is crazy, because, like, the Avengers came out in 2012.
That makes it even worse. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, there was that period, right, where, like, it's hard for people to remember that now, but there was that period of time where, like, you had Nolan
Yeah.
and Marvel, and their shit was way ahead of, like,
Right.
like a decade ahead of everyone else.
Even had a Spider-Man at that time.
Yeah, I mean, everyone else was making dog shit, like, by comparison.
Yeah.
And Marvel came out, took it seriously, and Nolan was already taking it seriously.
Yeah.
This one's easy for me, man. It's Justice League all the way. I mean, this movie is fucking terrible. Like, in the first 5 minutes, you know, there's the whole thing where it's like the parademon, like Batman's tracking the parademon, and you're like, oh, okay, you know, this is kind of like right out of Justice League War.
Yeah.
You know, this is cool. And then Batman, like, kills the thing, and it, like, leaves
Leaves
the
a
plan
map.
on the wall behind it. And I'm like, this is an awful plan.
Right.
If all of your minions carry the plan and they just, like,
Yeah.
when you kill them, they put it on the wall behind them.
Yeah, that I wish that were the worst of this movie's problems.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is just, like, the first 5 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
And then the whole movie, like, is kind of nonsensical, and we don't get the amazing, like, Flash just gets shit on through the whole movie.
Oh yeah.
Everybody actually really gets shit on in this, except for maybe Aquaman.
He's about the because everyone else got better sequences in the Snyder Cut.
By far.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. You realize that Cyborg was really supposed to be like the heart and soul of the movie.
Yeah.
And you really can't tell by watching Justice League.
He's barely in it.
Yeah.
And then Diana is literally just a, like, person to exposit.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all she is.
Yeah, the Justice League is awful. I mean, about the only redeemable thing in it is the very brief Superman fight.
Yeah. That's about it.
And even that is way better in the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with the Justice League on this one, man, because Green Lantern was bad, but, like, I definitely have a lot fonder memories of that movie than I do of the Justice League. So I'm picking Justice League here.
That is fair. This next one here, I realize is probably more of a conundrum for me than for you. I think I would just Control Alt Delete myself if I had to choose between this one. Jesus Christ! All right, Captain Marvel or Madam Web.
Oh no, that's still hard. Oof. I'm with you. I kind of just Control Alt Delete myself. But this is an easy one. This is probably the easiest one yet, to be honest with you.
You didn't even bring any Madam Web repellent with you today.
The Mountain Dew's made by Pepsi.
Okay.
Right? They're still owned by Pepsi. Let me see.
I think they are, right? Because that's not a Coke product.
No, it's definitely not a Coke product. I'm pretty sure they're still owned by Pepsi. Yeah, under the authority of PepsiCo.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, same deal.
Yeah.
We're safe. Okay. The issues that we have with both of these movies are very well documented. Thoroughly documented. As a matter of fact, we bring up Madam Web every episode.
We do. We may or may not be contractually obligated to mention Madam Web in every episode.
Yeah, at this point. Captain Marvel is an awful film. And it's not like an awful film in the way that Madam Web is an awful film. Captain Marvel is just a big, it's a very boring movie, right? Not a lot happens, and the things that do happen that you're supposed to be impressed with aren't really that impressive. The main character, the character work is terrible. Brie Larson's not a likable human at all. Especially not in this movie. Even the soundtrack, you just want to punch the person that picked it out, you know. That being said, Madam Web is terrible. I definitely, the first time I watched Captain Marvel, enjoyed it way more than any time I've ever seen Madam Web, which is just the once. So I'm picking Madam Web here because, Madam Web also could win the whole thing.
Question: what year is Madam Web supposed to take place in? Did they say?
I mean, it's got to be in. If we assume that Tom Holland is going to be the baby, possibly incest Peter that pops out, it's got to be early 90s?
They got cell phones, don't they?
I mean, yeah, I don't know, man.
No, you know what? We do know what year it was because they were listening to Toxic in the restaurant scene.
Oh, right.
And that was
04? Yeah, okay. So
yeah, that doesn't help any of
none of it makes sense because Civil War was in 2016. So
right.
was Tom Holland supposed to be 12?
Yeah, unless they're trying to say this is Andrew's Peter.
Yeah, but
no, that makes it
way worse.
Yeah, never mind.
He would have been 4.
Yeah. Never mind. Fuck yeah, I have no idea then. Yeah. Neither do they.
Yeah. No, Madam Web definitely wins this round.
Yeah.
Wins.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Captain Marvel is Captain Marvel. The reason why I stopped giving Marvel so much grief about Captain Marvel, because I don't bring him up as much as I used to nearly. And the reason is that it's because I realized that I've done the same thing several times where I have over-delivered on the goods just for a desired result, and then it's well, you're here, and I had a good time, and that's what Marvel did. They made us think that we had to go watch Captain Marvel in order to get into Endgame. We didn't, and as a result, that movie made $1 billion.
Yep.
And I don't think anyone really had a great time with it, but Marvel sure did.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't even hate the movie as much as you do, but I don't like it either. But I mean, it's not god awful enough that we could talk about it at length every week, like Madam Web has been.
Well, I did for a while.
You did for a while, but I mean, Madam Web is just a fucking absolute terrible. This movie at least has Sam Jackson and Clark Gregg in it.
That's true.
Madam Web just doesn't offer any You get that one skin tight scene of Sydney Sweeney in the suit. That's about all you get.
That's all the good you get.
Yeah.
Next up.
Oh no, this is going great.
Birds of Prey.
I'm waiting before I take a drink.
Versus 1990s Captain America.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's tough. Oh man. Ooh. Shit. This is the hardest one yet. Because it's kind of like the last matchup, right? Where like 1990s Captain America is like laughably awful.
Yeah.
Birds of Prey is just awful.
It's true.
But Birds of Prey does have Ewan McGregor in it.
He is in it.
And Journey Smollett.
I love everything she's in.
Yeah. Well, not this.
Well, yeah.
You love her.
I love her in everything she's in. There we go.
Yeah, she's great.
They shoehorned Harley Quinn into a Birds of Prey movie. That was cool.
You remember, like, even in the subtitle,
Yeah,
like the ridiculous ass subtitle that they put on it.
The something Emancipation of Harley Quinn.
Fantabulous.
Yeah.
Emancipation of Harley Quinn. It was like way over long. They couldn't fit it on the little things at the movies.
Right.
I watched James Gunn's Suicide Squad the other day, just kind of because Isekai kind of made me want to see it.
Something good with Suicide Squad.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
She's not even awful in it, which is wild.
Yeah.
Because I don't care for Margot Robbie in most things, and I really don't like her Harley Quinn, and it's not really so much because of her; it's more because of DC and like the fan base.
No, I agree.
But 1990s Captain America is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Wow, I did not see Birds of Prey making it out of the first round, but it's gonna. I gotta give this a 1990s Captain America because I mean, if I just try to sit down and think of any redeeming qualities of that movie, unironically, there are none.
There are none.
I mean, even ironically, there are only a few.
The only good thing about the 90 Captain America movie is that if you watch it with a group of friends, it is hilarious.
Yeah, it is. Like watching Captain America steal cars.
Yeah. Watching him grow in size when he's wearing regular clothes.
Yeah, it's like this is a great movie to put on and drink.
Yeah.
You know, and just kind of laugh at it. Yeah, I mean, there was at least a few good scenes in Birds of Prey. There are no good scenes in 1990s Captain America. It's just,
Right.
You can barely discern what the fuck is happening
Right.
in most of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's the epitome of awful. It's bad.
Yeah,
It's
it's
real
really bad. It could also win the whole thing.
Oh, man. Next up, we have Morbius versus Iron Man 3.
You know what?
Oh, man.
I feel like this is another one of those things where it's like, for most people,
Yeah.
this is an easy choice. But for me, I hate Iron Man 3 a lot. So I actually think that Matt Smith does a great job in Morbius with what he's given. You can't outact a bad script, but he tries.
He tried.
He tried his damnedest. There is a Bat Kamehameha in it.
Is that a pro or a con?
It depends on the day.
Okay.
To be honest with you.
Okay. There's that awesome Vulture cameo at the end that makes complete sense.
That's not going to lead to anything. Oh, and then, we have Iron Man 3, which, wow, I really hate this movie. There's really not, I hate all the Ty Simpkins stuff. At the very beginning, you think that, what's the fake Mandarin, what's his name?
Oh, yeah, Ben Kingsley.
You think that Ben Kingsley's killing it, and he is.
Yeah.
And then he isn't.
There's some big old nothing burger.
I gotta go with Iron Man 3, man.
Oh.
And the reason that Iron Man 3 is advancing and Morbius is not is because, if you had a gun in my head and you were like, which one of these two movies do you want to watch? I'm watching Morbius. I just am. Like, it's not a good movie, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't like hate it. Like, I just thought it was incredibly meh. We talked about in the review that, like, if this shit came out in like 99, it would have been fire, you know? If it came out like between Underworld movies or something, you know?
Oh, if it came out in 99, we would have been waiting for a Blade cameo.
Yeah. And there probably would have been one.
Yeah.
And actually, I watched that sequel. Like,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
come out with a Blade versus Morbius movie.
Right. I don't care if it's only 5 minutes long.
Yeah, I'll go watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not trolling you this time, Sony. We actually do
Yeah,
want
we
to see this.
actually do want to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, they can get Wesley Snipes. Fuck
Yeah.
it. I mean,
yeah.
Marvel's not ever going to make one. So. Do you think we get Blade before Secret Wars?
Secret Wars is 2027?
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that at this moment in time they filmed a single frame that will be in the final movie, assuming that it ever comes out?
No.
No,
I don't think they have.
I'm right there with you. Yeah.
I mean, how often is it that directors will leave after they've already started filming? Like, typically that's underneath, like, really tense circumstances.
And they've lost several directors.
And writers.
Several. Yeah. I mean, But fuck you, Iron Man 3, and fuck you, Shane Black. And the other reason that that Iron Man 3 goes forward on this is, like, I have not watched another Shane Black movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I've watched 2 Rian Johnson films since then.
Well, both the Glass Onion movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Because all the characters are very one-dimensional by design, see? And so he's very good with it.
I feel you mentioned this every time we talk about either Rian Johnson or the Glass Onion movies. Like, you can't just let a good thing be a good thing. You have to give us that extra little bit.
Well, Rian Johnson lied to my face. See, I was literally standing as close as you are to me right now, and he told me that he loved Star Wars. And I believed him. And then the movie came out.
You're like, wait a minute.
And I was like, this motherfucker lied to my face.
He lied to me.
Yeah, he lied to me.
Oh, shit. Okay. This next one. 2015 Fantastic Four.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you now. Whatever you say next is going to have to be really awful.
Versus Blue Beetle.
Yeah, I don't think Blue Beetle is bad enough to, like, oh, yeah, Blue Beetle is a terrible film. I'm fairly certain it was written by an AI. I'm almost entirely certain. Like, you're going to have to really convince me they didn't write that movie with AI. Because, like, it just hits every beat of, like, the most average fucking superhero movie you can imagine. It literally is like if you just made an AI watch superhero movies and you were like, make one about Blue Beetle.
Yeah. Blue Beetle does, I mean, you watch and you can tell, well, this was clearly made for TV. And it was.
Oh, yeah.
And then they took it to theaters for some reason.
The armor looks cool as fuck.
It does. Yeah.
The myriad of very racist stereotypes. I don't know why they thought that shit was a good idea.
A lot of those.
They really thought that they were going to make, like, the, like, Hispanic version of Black Panther.
Yeah.
And that, like, that community was going to pour out for this
Right.
movie. Nah.
Yeah, that didn't quite happen.
They even have that really ham-fisted sequence where, like, the lady says his name wrong or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She calls him, like, Jamie or something.
Yeah. And I'm like, while I do agree that that's a thing that I'm sure happens,
Right.
I've seen it. It's so awkward in the script. Like,
Yeah,
it's very, very fucking ham-fisted.
The setup was wrong. The delivery was wrong. The way it was shot was wrong. Yeah. To me, Blue Beetle, it's just, like you said, it's just a very mediocre movie that they, outside of his actual powers, they just try to make the most mainstream type superhero product that they possibly could. and in doing so, like they destroy any odds of it being anything memorable.
I love that like 2-year period where like the DCEU was dying out, and they would ask James Gunn about every project, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, go see it," and they'd be like, "Well, are you going to put him in the DCU?" And he'd be like, "Well, it depends on if you guys like it."
Yeah,
He knew damn well we weren't going to like that shit.
I know. he knew.
But that's a great answer to give, though. It's like, yeah, I mean, if it makes like $1 billion, then Warner Brothers is going to make me put him in the shit.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm not really worried about that. So
Right.
if you guys like it, I'll put it in there.
Right.
Knowing damn well we weren't gonna. However,
Fan Force.
despite the fact that I really didn't like Blue Beetle, and like Blue Beetle though is at least good enough where like if it was just on, I might sit and watch it for a little bit. If I just didn't have anything to do. I wouldn't do that with Fan Forstic. I'd turn the TV off. Like, Fan Forstic is fucking terrible. It's one of the worst superhero movies ever made, and it could also win the whole thing. Josh Trank went on like a apology tour about this movie, and you can almost see him going through the stages of grief. Like,
Oh yeah.
he hit that fucking well, you guys just didn't understand it first.
Denial. Yeah.
And then he tried to kind of get like the Zack Snyder fandom shit where like they defend the movie by putting shit in there that's not in there. But it just like, but people like Zack Snyder and nobody really likes Josh Trank.
Well, he only had one good movie at that point. He was still a really new filmmaker.
Right. It was Chronicle.
Chronicle, yeah.
Great movie though.
Yeah.
Can't take that from him.
Right.
So then it went to, oh, well, the studio fucked up my movie.
Yep.
I don't think they did.
I mean, this may be one of those rare instances where Fox, their hands were clean.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The studios fucked up a lot of superhero movies back then, and they still doing it to this day. I don't think this is one of them, man. I think Josh Trank was under so much pressure. I think Josh Trank had one great idea,
Yeah.
and it was Chronicle. And I think he really struggled with how to make this movie work. Making the Fantastic Four work on screen is not an easy feat. I will say that. No one's ever fucking done it. But there's at least 2 better attempts than this one. Holy shit, this movie's bad.
I would love to see the one that they made in the 90s that they have in the vault.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't get, that movie did not get Batgirled. Like, it still exists.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel just go ahead and drop that shit.
I mean, it's got to be better than this movie. The other thing that's so upsetting about this movie in particular, the fucking cast was stellar.
Yeah.
Like,
Even though I don't remember who played Doom. That's the only one I can't vouch for.
Same. Well, because Victor Von Doom's not in this movie. But like the main cast that they got for the Fantastic Four was incredible. They did such a good job with the casting on this, and it's so often like the first like 10-15 minutes of the movie actually isn't bad.
I agree.
I kind of like how they actually did the backstory for Mr. Fantastic in this.
Yeah.
And Miles Teller is a great.
I mean,
all the cast, like I said, great fucking cast.
Kate Mara.
Yeah, Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
So the fact that, like, honestly, if I had to pick, like, without having seen either movie, I would pick this cast over the one that's actually about to be the Fantastic Four. Like, if I just didn't know anything.
Right.
You know, if I didn't know that this movie was going to be awful, and you were like, which group of people do you want to play the Fantastic Four? I would pick the cast in this.
Oh, that's tough. Huh.
I mean, not that either. I think either of them's bad.
Right.
But fucking Fan Forstic is an awful, awful, awful movie, and it's gonna win this round.
Yeah, man. Fan Forstic, it's hard to find something good about it. Like, and every time that I want to say something good about it, they do something to fuck it up. Like, I'm one of the few people who actually really like the design of the Thing in that movie.
Yeah.
But why is he butt ass naked?
They also cut out that whole sequence where he was supposed to be like smashing tanks and shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think he had a great look. Like he was. I like the hulking, large Ben Grimm they had, and even like the design features of him were really cool.
Kaiju thing.
Yeah, but hey, you can put some underoos on him or something.
Yeah, they didn't have the Hulk stretchy clothes.
Right.
They should have had his big old like stone dick.
Yeah, that would have been
around.
phenomenal.
Because he can take you out with that thing.
Oh,
easy.
for sure, yeah. And then that's like one of the most embarrassing deaths ever. I got taken out by a giant stone penis. Oh, shit. All right. Next up, we have Thor Love and Thunder versus Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh, God. This one's hard, too. Oh, because Ant-Man and the Wasp is actually our lowest ranked when we did the MCU ranking. But I wanted to put Love and Thunder there.
You did.
You sure you randomized this? Because like
I randomized
the app
this.
did a great job.
It did.
Did a great job. This one's really hard. Ooh.
Yeah, I just looked at it again for validation. That's tough.
Both of these movies deserve to go forward. They're both awful. I mean, as a matter of fact, I will actually say that out of all the ones we've done so far, this is like these movies are like the most close together and awful.
Oh yeah,
because there's not a movie out of these two. Like some of the other ones has been like, okay, both these movies are terrible, but like one of them I could hate watch and the other one I can't.
yeah.
Neither of these are watchable for any redeemable thing. Like, neither of them are like, okay, well, I can watch this, turn my brain off, and enjoy it. No. Neither of them are, I can hate watch it and laugh at how stupid it. No.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And it's like, again, to me, they kind of cancel each other out when I try to like think of pros versus cons.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, Ant-Man and the Wasp has better CG than Thor Love and Thunder. However, Thor Love and Thunder, I think, has better action than Ant-Man and the Wasp. And it's like I'm splitting hairs, you know?
Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to go forward, and the only reason is because of Mighty Thor. It's only because of Natalie Portman and the fucking dope-ass Shattered Mjolnir stuff. That's it. That's the only reason that Love and Thunder is winning this round is because, like, there's just not anything in Ant-Man and the Wasp that's like,
Yeah.
where I can point to it and go, oh, well, this redeems it a little.
Right.
Also, they say the word quantum in that movie about 7 million times. The sequel is called Quantumania, and they say the word quantum less times in that movie. Like, if you were to buy a bottle of alcohol and take a shot every time they say quantum, you would be out of alcohol by, like, the fucking 15-minute mark of this movie, and then dead by the halfway point.
And then fully embalmed by the end of it.
Yeah, don't use Worcestershire sauce, though, as embalming fluid, ever.
I didn't know that was a thing.
That is actually, that's a deep cut. If anybody got that, congrats. That is a reference to the very first episode of South Park.
Really?
Yeah, they use Worcestershire sauce as embalming fluid, and it turns the bodies into zombies.
Holy shit, that's a throwback.
Yeah.
Damn.
You're welcome.
Fuck, all right. Ant-Man and the Wasp, it goes on. All right, and then the last two contestants for round one. Batman and Robin versus Ant-Man Quantumania.
Shit. I was like, one of these got to be, like, you did manage to find 16 movies that I hate. Wow. I'm thinking about it. Like, just my gut instinct is that Quantumania is walking out of this one, like, and that's awful.
Right.
But I gotta say, man, like, as a child, I liked Batman and Robin. I've never liked Quantumania. But I'm like, if Quantumania came out when I was like 11, I might would like it.
Maybe.
Batman and Robin's gonna win this one, purely because of Chris O'Donnell's Dick Grayson. He was instrumental in why I fell in love with that character and why it's still one of my favorite comic book characters. And his portrayal of Dick Grayson is actually fantastic.
Yeah.
Not in this movie, but even all the problems in this movie, he's not really one of them.
You know that Marlon Wayne still gets a residual check for because he was originally cast as Robin.
Really?
So before Joel Schumacher took over, Tim Burton was still going to obviously be the director for the third one, and they wanted to put Robin in that, and they had cast Marlon Wayans, and it got to the point where not only had he been cast, but I mean they were about to start shooting, and then the whole thing got scrapped and restructured, but it got so far down the process that he gets a residual check.
That's hilarious,
right?
It's pretty funny because back then they did a lot of like I forget what it's actually called, the exact type of deal, but it's basically like you get paid whether this happens or not.
Yeah.
Tim Burton actually had one on Superman Lives.
Oh wow!
So Tim Burton actually got paid his full amount for that movie.
That's incredible.
Even though he never had to make it.
Yeah. Which is either really good or really bad.
I mean, fuck them both. Like, Warner Brothers, John Peters, Tim Burton, all of them. But yeah, I'm picking Quantumania, man, because Quantumania, like, while there's parts of it that you want to enjoy, it actively shits on so much. I mean, it ruined Kang before Jonathan Majors ruined Kang.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and Kang was, if we're being honest, he was the reason why people were going to turn out for this movie anyway.
Yeah, I mean...
He was the big bad.
Also, like, Batman and Robin has a fuck ton of cold puns in it.
Okay, now which one is going through again?
Batman and Robin, like, is the better of the two, and so Quantumania goes forward.
Okay, see, that's what I thought, but you mentioned something about the cold puns.
Yeah, because, you know what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. I really enjoy Arnold as Mr. Freeze. Obviously, like, it's not to be taken seriously at all.
I think that you and Arnold are the only two who enjoy any of that.
I think it's all hilarious. I mean, like, obviously, like,
What's the point of getting an actor that big to be Mr. Freeze also?
To sell toys.
When I say that big, I mean like physically that big.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was a very weird choice, right? But I mean, you got to think though. Back then, right, being cast as like a Batman villain, like superhero movies weren't taken seriously at all.
Yeah. So
like you're cast as Batman or a Batman villain, it's just a way for you to get a big check. Mm-hmm. You know, back then they're like, oh, well, this movie's for 8-year-olds, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to use it to sell toys. You're going to get residuals on the toys. That's it. Like, that's why they wanted Arnold for the movie. That's why, I mean, Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy is actually not that bad.
I mean, it's over the top like everything else, but it's not, it's not bad.
They at least got the essence of the character.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Bane is absolutely fucking terrible to the point that a lot of people, up until very recently, you know, if you just are going off, like you just watch movies and that's it, you think that this is what Bane is. He's just this hulking fucking Frankenstein character.
Yeah.
No.
It's actually quite smart.
Yeah, Bane.
Contrary to this movie.
Bane gets completely fucking ruined. But yeah, I mean, but that's all it was back then, though. Yeah. It's just like you're just in this movie. You know, it's like you look at Riddler and Two-Face. You know, they got two of the biggest actors at the time to play them, and I mean,
the interesting thing is though, at least with that casting, I'm like, in the hands of like, if they had taken the movie seriously, And I mean, everybody working on it, had they taken it seriously, that wouldn't have been bad casting, I don't think.
I want to see the Schumacher cut of Forever. I really want to see it.
Yeah.
Because apparently it's a lot darker.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I remember seeing the giant creepy animatronic man bat they have in that.
Yeah.
That shit was, oof.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm interested. I really would love to see that. And if you guys put it out, we'll review it. So,
we'll be contractually obligated.
Yeah, but yeah, man, I hate to say it, but Batman and Robin's going to survive this one, and Quantumania goes forward. Fuck you, Quantumania.
So I would like to point out the movies that the homie Caleb really likes. He loves The Flash, Green Lantern, Captain Marvel, Birds of Prey, Morbius, Blue Beetle, Thor: Love and Thunder, and Batman and Robin. Those are some of his favorite movies, according to Caleb.
They are the least shitty of this awful list.
Moving on to round 2. You ready?
Is the matchup in round 2 going to be Quantumania versus Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Don't think about that.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm bear with you here.
All right, here we go. To kick things off for round 2, we have X-Men Dark Phoenix versus 2017 Justice League.
See, I really wasn't thinking about how bad round 2 was going to be. Because it's like, so much of round 1 was just like, oh, this is 2 god-awful movies. But then you're not thinking about, like, oh, in round 2, it's going to be god-awful versus absolutely terrible awful.
Yes.
What are my options again? What's choices?
You have X-Men Dark Phoenix versus 2017 Justice League.
This is hard. So hard.
Like, this is...
Because it's the worst of both franchises.
It is, right?
It's the absolute worst of the Fox X-Men versus it's the worst movie with mutants in it.
Yeah.
Versus the worst movie with Batman in it.
I mean, dear Lord, I hope this is the worst Justice League movie we ever get.
Yeah. I said it's the worst movie with Batman in it.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Ugh. And that's a tall order.
That is a tall order. Wow.
Yeah.
God damn.
This movie, if you got to watch Batman and Robin or Justice League, at least with Batman and Robin, you can have a little fun.
Fuck. I'd really rather not even think about that, to be honest.
Fuck you, Joss Whedon. You rude bitch. Ooh, okay.
Man.
This is a tough one because this is just the worst of the worst of the worst.
And it's like, thinking about these two movies, it's like, well, okay, what do I like about either of them?
I gotta say it, man. There's, I kind of have to like double down on what I said earlier with the Justice League. It at least has the Superman stuff. Mm-hmm. When you're looking at Dark Phoenix, right? You have the stellar cast is still there. The best part of this movie isn't even intended to be great. It's when Mystique dies.
Right.
Jennifer Lawrence dies. Mm-hmm. They fuck up Professor X immensely.
Yeah.
Like this whole thing where they tried to villainize Xavier. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's definitely a way to do that, right?
There is a way to do that. But the way they went about it it didn't make any sense.
Nope.
And they didn't build up to it. You can build up to something like this happening and having it be compelling, but they didn't do it.
And the way that you have to do this with Xavier is like you can't do it where Xavier thinks he's doing the wrong thing because he's not going to do that. You have to have it to where Xavier 100% believes he's doing the right thing, and then you have to show him that that's exactly what Magneto is doing.
Exactly.
And you have to make him make decisions that make sense, but happen to be villainous. And then you have to have the other characters kind of show him, like, no, this is what Eric is doing.
Yeah.
Because it's a thin line between the two of them, believe it or not.
Very much so. What do you think of Sophie Turner as Jean Grey?
I thought she was bad in Apocalypse and fucking awful in this. She's abysmal in this. Like, to the point where I don't think I've ever seen her in anything after this.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Huh.
Now, whether that's just she's not being cast or I'm just avoiding her, it could be both.
Yeah. Either or.
Because I just watched back through Game of Thrones, as you know.
Yeah.
And I remember watching her in the later seasons of that and being like, she's a pretty good actress.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the fuck happened.
She seems bored throughout both movies. And the writing does her zero favors.
In Apocalypse, she's just like awkward.
Mm-hmm.
But in this movie, she's literally a plot device.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just a walking, talking, fucking plot device.
And still, after all these years, Hollywood still had no idea what the Phoenix is or how to handle Phoenix powers. And to make matters worse, in both movies, she also had zero compatibility with the Cyclops actor.
Yeah.
Like I never bought those two.
No. Not even a little bit.
Like, say what you will about like the original X-Men, but man, those two at least seem like, yeah, I can buy them.
She at least had some chemistry in Apocalypse with James McAvoy. Like, I thought they worked well together.
Yeah.
But in this movie, it's like nothing works. Like,
Yeah.
nothing fucking works. Like,
Right.
every single thing they try to do, even Fassbender's Magneto is just trash in this.
Yeah, it's like because they've done everything that they could have done with those characters at that point. So unless you have like something really stellar, you're not gonna pull out another amazing performance that can uplift the movie.
Especially like that scene where he's like trying to hold the helicopter or whatever. You could just tell he just doesn't give a single fuck. Like, you could just tell no one wanted to be there when they were making this. Woof. Dark Phoenix is gonna go forward, man. I hate to give any sort of anything. I hate to even give an inch to the Justice League, man. But Dark Phoenix is an abysmal, just god awful film. And like I said, there's some terrible films on this thing. Dark Phoenix can win the whole thing. Like, it's very difficult for me to think about any redeemable feature of this movie.
Give me enough time that I can probably come up with some crumb of positivity.
Is this the one that has Dazzler in it, or is that Apocalypse?
I think it's this one.
Yeah, I mean, that scene was okay.
It was all of like 7 seconds. Yeah,
It allowed me to stump you on the questions game.
I guess it did. Yeah,
So,
that's another reason why I hate this movie.
thanks, Taylor Swift.
She wasn't even in it.
No, I know. Yeah, after all that.
Well, next up, something that will make me very happy, seeing which movie you choose next. You have Madam Web versus 1990 Captain America. Oh, decisions, man.
I don't smoke, folks, but I might start.
Oh.
So you have 1990s Captain America,
Yep.
which is in this versus Madam Web.
Yes.
This is a very fucking hilarious matchup, right? Because
Both of them love to steal cars and shit.
Yeah, both of them love to steal cars. You have 1990s Captain America, which is very loosely about Captain America, versus Madam Web, which is incredibly loosely about Madam Web.
Right.
I think 1990s Captain America is more about Steve Rogers than Madam Web is about Madam Web.
That is true. Both of them also ironically hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, like, they have both given us tons of content fodder.
Oh, yeah.
For the podcast.
There are no fake ears in Madam Web.
That's true. But is that a positive or a negative?
I don't know.
Because that's the thing, like, both of these movies are, like, hilariously bad.
Oh, yeah.
Like, obviously, if you just look at them unironically, right? Like, you just watch them both, like, try to take them both seriously. I think 1990s Captain America is objectively the worst movie.
I think it might B.
Just because, like, at least with Madam Web, I could tell you what the plot was.
That's true. We sat there and watched 1990s Captain America. I do not think I can really explain the plot.
Yeah, I mean, I could at least tell you what they were going for in Madam Web.
Right.
And I'll, for the sake of the podcast, I'll do that real quick, right? So, she works as an EMT,
okay,
right? And she starts to get these visions.
Her coworker is Ben Parker.
Yeah, her coworker's Ben Parker. That's very, very important. They call him Ben Parker through the whole movie. I don't think they ever just say Ben. It's always Ben Parker.
He's even called Uncle Ben at the end of the movie.
Yeah, and I hope he's ready for being an uncle. Whatever.
Jesus.
The villain doesn't wear shoes.
He does not.
And he keeps having this dream about these 3 superhero women killing him. So instead of moving, he decides to murder them. Because they won't always be children. And that justifies him killing the children.
He follows the Obi-Wan Kenobi manner of thinking.
Correct, yeah. Well, and he doesn't just horribly dismember them, like he kills them. So he takes it a step further. Because at least Obi-Wan will just cut your arms and legs
That's
off.
true.
He has a collection of just various body parts that he's removed from his opponent.
Yeah, he does.
Which is why, like, Grievous has got to be his favorite opponent because he has so many limbs.
Right. He's like, man, paralysis by analysis. Which one to go for?
Yeah. There's so many options. And then a Pepsi factory explodes. And Madam Web hits a lot of people with cars. And I don't know what the last 2 things have to do with the first few things. But I can at least tell you that that's what happened.
Well, also, when she is a fugitive of the law who is being accused of kidnapping 3 minors, she's able to get her passport, get on a plane, go to South America
and come back real quick.
Back real fucking quick.
Yeah. She's incredibly resourceful.
Incredibly so. I mean, it's crazy.
And in 1990s Captain America, I mean, he'd have had to steal 11, 12 cars to make that trip.
Well, what I love about 1990s Captain America is, hey, listen, man, they don't waste a whole lot of time in that movie. Like, within the first 20 minutes, you get a Captain America versus Red Skull fight. And in that fight, Cap gets his hand tied to a rocket. And then Cap takes, like, I think the other half of the cuffs and he puts them on Red Skull.
And then Red Skull cuts his hand off.
Red Skull cuts his own hand off.
Yeah.
Which is the logical thing to do in that situation.
Like a reverse Captain Hook. Or an early iteration of Saw.
Oh, and then, Captain America, he gets blasted off, and then, I mean, remember when the rocket's about to hit the small kid, but then he kicks the rocket?
Yes.
And so it doesn't?
And it lands,
Captain America's always looking out for people.
Yeah, I mean, this is only going to get harder, folks, but I think 1990s Captain America is going to go forward.
All right.
In this one. But fuck you, Madam Web. You're awful. You suck.
All right. Next up, Iron Man 3 versus Fan Four Stick.
Damn it. I knew there was a point in this where I was going to have to let Iron Man 3 off the hook. And I think that's where we are. I mean...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I hate Iron Man 3 a lot. I mean, and here's the thing is, like, if Iron Man 3 was just called Iron Man, the MCU didn't exist, and they just came out with this movie.
Yeah.
It would not be a great movie, but it wouldn't be... Like, I wouldn't hate it the way I hate it.
Yeah.
But because of what it has no desire to be a part of the MCU at all. It doesn't give a fuck about any of that. It doesn't care about Avengers. It doesn't care about Iron Man 1 and 2. It doesn't care about continuing that story. And for this to be the first MCU project that we got after Avengers, and for it to just so haphazardly not give a fuck about us or the MCU, it just adds to how bad it is. You take that to the and put it on top of the fact that the movie is straight up false advertising. It goes beyond baiting you. It's just straight up falsely advertised. You think you are going to get this badass Iron Man versus Mandarin film.
Right.
This would be like if the trailers for The Dark Knight came out and then, like, halfway through, like, it's not actually the Joker. It's just Man-Bat with a Joker mask on.
Right.
And then that's what we get for the rest of the movie. And, like, Batman doesn't save anyone.
Right.
It's
Batman doesn't save anyone.
Alfred gets... Hey, you know what? That sounds too entertaining, actually.
He blows up the cave at the end of it and with all of his suits and gadgets.
Yeah.
And with no backups. But then he comes back in the third one and he has the cave and the suits.
And they just ignore it. Yeah. And there's an after credit scene where he's sitting there telling Superman the whole thing, and like Superman's asleep.
It's funny.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No. Fuck this movie, but the fan forcing is just irredeemably awful. There are at least moments in Iron Man 3 that are interesting. I really do enjoy where they're like at the beginning of the movie where they're like going over his like PTSD and shit.
Yeah.
I always like it when our heroes are not just infallible, right?
Yeah.
And they're haunted by the things that have happened as he should be, right? I mean, he had an incredibly traumatic experience, and like the moments of this movie that they spend dealing with that are very are very good, and I wish that they had done more of that, right?
Yeah.
But they don't, right? It's not an arc, it's a light switch. There's a point where he just magically is over it.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's not how mental health works.
Well, someone tell that to fucking Shane Black.
Yeah, no one did apparently. But as bad as this movie is, I gotta put Fan Forstic through because Fan Forstic, like I said, it's just irredeemable. Like they had all the ingredients. It's like if I found the ingredients to make like the best cake and brought them all over to your house, and then you just kind of like put them all in a pan, didn't stir them up, and put that shit in the oven for like 16 hours. And then I came back and you're like, this is what I made.
Look what I got.
Yeah. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this? What is this butter soup? Burnt butter soup. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, I mean, they had everything working for them in this, and they still fucked it up royally. So yeah, Fan Forstic goes forward.
Fan Forstic progresses on,
and that means in the next round, I get to decide whether it or Dark Phoenix is worse.
Next up, Ant-Man and the Wasp versus Ant-Man Quantumania.
It says something about your franchise when you have two films that made it this far.
Yeah.
First off, that you had no other franchise had two films on the list.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Unless you just count like DC as a franchise. But like no other franchise had two films in the list. Ant-Man did. Both of those films made it to the next round.
When you put it that way.
I know. Yeah. It's Ant-Man and the Wasp. This is an easy one. Ant-Man and the Wasp goes forward. It's a terrible movie. We've talked about there are some redeemable qualities to Quantumania. It's overall just a very okay film. There's a lot of tropes and shit in it. There's a lot of plot armor in it. It's very much just a really long Rick and Morty episode.
I think to me, the only thing that Quantumania has over Ant-Man and the Wasp is the villain. I mean,
for sure.
There is no comparing Kang to Ghost.
Also, there's... Right, yeah. And there's also some funny jokes in Quantumania. And Ant-Man and the Wasp, almost all that humor fell very flat.
Yeah. There are some jokes in Quantumania that are actually not terrible.
I love the scene where like the weird alien asks them how many holes they have,
and everyone says the number.
Yeah, and everyone in the theater there's this hushed thing where you could tell everyone was counting. That was beautiful. It was brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
So it wins. It could win based on that.
Based on that, yeah.
But yeah, they're actually like Quantumania is just a very meh film. Like on its own, like it not as part of the MCU, it's an above average movie. Like it's not terrible. It's just, like I said, it's a turn your brain off and you could enjoy this, you know. But Ant-Man and the Wasp is bad even if you take it out of the MCU. Quantumania is only really super awful because of what it means to the MCU overall. Otherwise, it's just a very average movie. Ant-Man and the Wasp is bad as part of the MCU. It's bad as part of the Ant-Man franchise. It's bad on its own. I mean, it got the very bottom of our MCU ranking. So
It did.
yeah, I mean, Ghost is a terrible villain. Like, doesn't have any. Like, if you go back and listen to our villains episode that we did a while back, Ghost had none of the things we talked about. None of the antagonist qualities that we talked about. Ghost had none of them. Ghost barely even had a fucking character. I think Taskmaster has more of a fucking character in the MCU than Ghost.
Yeah.
Hopefully Ghost is about to get their redemption.
The only reason you hear people online bitching more about Taskmaster is because people actually like that character.
Yeah. Most people don't know who the fuck Ghost is. Right. They still don't.
Yeah, they still don't. 5-second exposition dump. Ghost is a D-list Iron Man villain.
Well, maybe Thunderbolts can change Ghost's fortunes in the MCU.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Otherwise, yeah, fuck right off. Ant-Man and the Wasp goes forward.
Ant-Man and the Wasp goes on to the next round. Now we're at round 3. How are you feeling, man? How are you? How's your mindset here?
It's rapidly deteriorating.
Well, you know, it only gets easier from here.
In the words of Rick Ross, woo.
To kick things off with round 3, we have X-Men Dark Phoenix versus 1990 Captain America. Now, at this point, it's like choosing your flavor of bad, right? It's like you've died and hell is a real place, and you go there and Satan's like, "Hey, welcome to, your first day in hell. I'm going to show you around. You're probably hungry, so we have here a shit sandwich. Actually, 2 shit sandwiches. One of them is solid and one is diarrhea. So do you like Sloppy Joe's or hamburger? You know, it's up to you."
Yeah, and it's like, he was like, "Do you want to watch Rings of Power or do you want to eat these shit sandwiches?" And I was like, "Well, I definitely want to eat the shit sandwiches." So
Rings of Power catching the stray.
I had to get my dig in. This motherfucker. But they shit on something sacred. You know what I mean? And they spent $1 billion doing it.
That is a very bold decision that they made there. How's season 2 going?
Oh, I hear that it's just as bad, if not worse, than the first, and I haven't watched it.
Oh, you haven't watched it?
And I don't know if I'm gonna, man. Like, there's only so much a psyche can endure, and this year has put mine through a lot. And there's more to come.
There's more to come. Yeah.
I don't know if I have the bandwidth. Like, maybe like the next time there's a writer's strike.
Right. Yeah, the homies. This is why I went through co-hosting. Apparently, like they're forced to watch too much garbage television.
Yeah, I mean, because like you're not gonna watch it, so I mean we can't review it. So
we can. I would love to sit here and just ask you all kinds of questions.
We'll put it on the docket for when we're not as busy as we are now.
Understood.
Because I'd love to sit here but I never got to review the first season.
That's right.
But I really don't think you guys want that. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's just gonna be me very angry for like 2 hours.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the same reason why Kevin and I stopped watching and reviewing Titans, because it was like either you're already on the boat that we are on, which is this show is god awful trash, and you can listen to us talk about how it's god awful trash for 90 minutes every single week, or worse, you actually really like the show and you like our podcast, and you have to pick one. Yeah. So
I hope you guys picked the podcast because Titans was garbage. I didn't even finish that. I'm gonna put Dark Phoenix forward.
Ooh, Dark Phoenix worse than 1990 Captain America.
I mean, like I said, it just comes down to like I can at least watch 1990s Captain America and laugh at it. I can't tell you anything that's going on, But in Dark Phoenix, I can tell you everything that's going on, and I hate it a lot. At least this movie is. I mean, there's moments where Red Skull is recognizable.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of. But like in Dark Phoenix, man, there's really just there's no enjoyment to be had in this movie. I'm telling you, other than watching Jennifer Lawrence get killed.
Yeah.
And that's just because we were all so tired of her mystique by then. I mean, even she was too.
Oh,
she didn't want to be here at all.
Yeah, she didn't want to be in that movie.
She was only there for the same reason most of the cast was there, because they were contractually obligated.
Right.
And I mean,
and at that point, they knew it was the end.
Right.
Of the whole thing, that the Fox movies were done.
Yeah, and I think the studio knew it too, and they just threw that shit together for the tax write-off or whatever.
Right.
And they also, I mean, it was already to the point where you're like, oh, well, certainly nobody's going to try Dark Phoenix again. And now they just, like, condemned it. I mean, to the point where even Kevin Feige has said, like, hey, Dark Phoenix was so awful that, like, we completely backed off the franchise. They could have gone full tilt with the mutants immediately once all the legal shit was out of the way. Mm-hmm. But they made the conscious decision of, like, well, if you guys are going to end the franchise on this note, we can't go near it for a while because it's fucking awful.
And to a lesser degree, I think the same thing with Apocalypse. Now, the Apocalypse movie wasn't nearly as bad as Dark Phoenix, but I'd be damned if there's anything memorable really that's in it.
Just a couple of Magneto scenes.
Yeah, there's a couple Magneto scenes are really good. But I mean, they did Apocalypse such a disservice, and poor Oscar Isaac.
Oh man,
you know,
Oscar Isaac can't catch a fucking break,
right?
Yeah, and there's the Quicksilver scene where he, they tried to top the first one. It's still an alright scene.
It's still a good scene, but you can't just recreate that kind of awesomeness,
But yeah, man, I'm gonna put Dark Phoenix forward.
Dark Phoenix. Man, Dark Phoenix is an unstoppable juggernaut. So just so you guys know, Dark Phoenix has beaten The Flash. It has beaten 2017 Justice League. And now it has beaten 1990s Captain America. As a result, that means it has also beaten Green Lantern, Captain Marvel, and Madam Web, and Birds of Prey.
It's trash, man. It's a trash movie.
Well,
the worst of the worst.
Next up in round 3, Fanforstic versus Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I think I'm going to go play in traffic instead as an incredibly reasonable, logical third option.
Oh. I mean, I do not envy you. I really don't. That's
Ant-Man and the Wasp versus Fanforstic.
Like, this is just Satan's movie collection at this point.
Yeah. It's like that meme where the angel shows up and they're like, "Oh yeah, welcome to Heaven's Pearly Gates. Check out our video library." And it's just like, "Oh wait, every last one of these is Rings of Power." And then he takes the mask off and it's the villain.
That's fantastic.
It's like that. I mean, I'm acting like I have to think on this one, but I really don't, honestly. Like, Fanforstic goes forward. While Ant-Man and the Wasp is bad, it's at least still part of the MCU, and there were things that were enjoyable. I mean, Paul Rudd is Paul Ruddin in it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is, I think, one of his worst performances.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, like, I typically tend to like Evangeline Lilly as well. Yeah. Lawrence Fishburne is on the screen, you know what I mean? Like,
man, you are scraping the bottom of that barrel.
I am, man. I'm trying. Like, but I mean, Fanforstic is like,
oh shit.
Like at least this movie, the only character, like, it shits all over Ant-Man.
Yeah.
You know, it shits all over Scott Lang.
Yeah.
But Fanforstic, I mean, it fucking buries Victor Von Doom under a fucking mountain. Like, the version of Doom in this is, I mean, it's just unrecognizable fucking garbage to the point that it's just like, this is the worst possible interpretation of this character you can imagine. So yeah, man, I'm giving it to Fanforstic because it's just, like Fan Forstick, like Ant-Man and the Wasp is a bad movie, but Fan
Yeah.
Forstick is an abomination.
Yeah.
Like the superhero genre overall is worse because this movie exists. You know,
Yeah.
like if me and you sat down and we were like actively trying to make the worst superhero movie we could make,
Right.
I feel like we would have a hard time. Like if I actually got my wish and got the Matthew McConaughey Mr. Freeze movie, you would hate it less than this movie.
God damn, and that's such a tall order. 2015 Fantastic Four progresses on, which means that Fan Forstick is worse than Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man Quantumania, Iron Man 3, Morbius, Blue Beetle, Thor Love and Thunder, and Batman and Robin. Wow.
Good job, Josh Trank.
Well, now we're down to the last two, the final round. And ironically enough, these are two Fox made.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah. It comes down to X-Men Dark Phoenix versus 2015 Fantastic Four. Man, so at this point, Caleb, you don't have the defenses you had in previous rounds.
No.
Where like with 1990s Captain America, it is truly a one-of-a-kind awful movie, but my goodness, doesn't make you laugh.
Right. Whereas both of these are just...
Both of these are purposely dark-toned movies that try to take themselves too seriously and end up going absolutely nowhere.
These are day ruiners. Like, if you watch this movie, that day's fucked. You might as well go ahead and go to bed.
Right.
You know?
Try again tomorrow.
Yeah. And there's no revisionism here. Like, when I watched both of these in theaters, I hated them the whole time. Like, it's not like, oh, I got that initial theater watch and liked it, and then later on, you're just like, man, that was kind of trash. You know?
No, immediately.
No, I mean, yeah, like, while you're watching these, you admittedly just, oh, man, these are fucking god-awful, terrible films.
You know what's interesting? Obviously, the podcast wasn't around when Fan Forstick came out, but it was around when Dark Phoenix came out. I would be very curious to go back and hear what in the fuck was said about Dark Phoenix when it came out. Yeah. I remember it wasn't good.
No, I remember listening to the review.
Oof.
This is an incredibly difficult choice. I would love to know from all the homies out there. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you think is the worst of the worst of the worst. How you feeling about this one, man? Since we're here in the finals.
So,
it's a dope ass shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm wearing my X-Men shirt. I actually got this from Dragon Con a couple years back.
Oh, well, shit, I got this shirt from
Dragon
Con. What do you know?
Hey, you got that Dragon Con shirt from Dragon Con?
Yeah.
Brother, I'm going to be real with you here. This is damn near an impossible choice.
Right.
So, here's what I can say, and I'm going to get down the script that barrel with you here. With Dark Phoenix, the movie is absolutely atrocious. We know that, but I can follow it. I've seen Fan Forstick, I think, more times than Dark Phoenix.
Oh.
And I still cannot tell you what Fan Forstick is about, like in terms of like the plot.
Yeah.
It's difficult, right? Because they do like the kind of interdimensional shifting space travel type shit. They leave Victor there accidentally, but then they try to go back for him at some point, and but in doing so opens up like this fucking hell rift that he comes through, and he's
microwaved.
Yeah.
And they're both franchise ruiners.
Oh yeah.
Like if you think about it, like Fan Forstick, there's not going to be another Fantastic Four for a decade after this.
Right. A literal decade.
And probably we have yet to get another movie that has the name X-Men in it.
Yeah.
So it probably going to be 10 years from Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix is what, 2018?
I think 19.
Yeah. So, I mean, we might get an X-Men movie in 2028.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But, like, still, it's damn near 10 years. Like, both of these are franchise ruiners. Both of these are like, we cannot touch these properties for years because of the damage to the IP.
Yeah.
Thank God for X-Men 97.
Oh, yeah.
And Deadpool and Wolverine.
Deadpool, Wolverine.
You know?
Like, those two things really revitalize people's hopes and optimism for mutants going forward.
Fantastic Four's got nothing. Fantastic Four has the original 2 attempts.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, eh. And then they came out with this movie and it was like, well, now you see what you had.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
It's like,
Now all of a sudden those first two ain't looking so bad.
yeah, no, yeah. It's like, okay, we just thought we had it bad.
Yeah.
This is, you know.
It is crazy to think how like those movies, those 2 original Fantastic Four films, even at the time they weren't great, but I mean they were just popcorn flicks, you
Yeah.
know.
The
But-
first one's not awful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Most of it's introducing everyone.
It is.
Doom was quite good though. Like I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
mean,
I like
obviously,
the actor.
obviously there was several facets of the character that
Oh,
were completely
absolutely.
missing.
And,
But the charisma was at least there.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, and that guy, he was on fire during that time because he was on like Nip Tuck, and that show was huge.
Yep.
But the thing I remember about that, I think it was 2000. Wow, yeah, 2004 was when that first Fantastic Four movie came out.
Yep.
In 2014, we got Fanforstic.
Yeah.
No,
They
2015.
They turned Vic Mackey into the thing.
They did.
Yeah.
I remember that last fight scene, and it was. I was like, so the budget just ran out, huh?
Yeah.
Because like the streets were all empty, and like each of the Fantastic Four just took turns using their powers, and then they beat Doom.
Yep.
And I remember like the Thing, he like kicked the fire hydrant or some shit.
The CGI on the thing was not great either.
It was mostly prosthetics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This is tough, man.
This is impossible decision, man.
And honestly, like if I had looked at the bracket beforehand, I probably would have thought that it was going to come down to these two. I mean, all of these movies are terrible. Don't get me wrong. Like Fanforstic, like I said before, it's just straight up it's an abomination to films, to comic book films, to the Fantastic Four, to Marvel. You know, I hope Stan Lee never had to sit through this movie.
Oh my gosh.
If he did, it's probably what killed him.
God damn.
I mean, this movie.
At least he didn't cameo in it, so he probably didn't watch it.
That's true. Fanforstic, really bad.
Yeah.
But like, I also think about Chris Claremont having to watch.
Oh yeah,
Darby.
and he did watch that.
Yeah,
I'm trying. Were you there at that Claremont panel that one year at Dragon Con?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, and he talked about that, and he was not happy.
Yeah,
about
no,
that movie.
that was a great one because that was also the year that we met him up in the artist gallery, and like we got up there before everyone,
right? And I got to talk with Chris Claremont
for like 20 minutes, or whatever. There was no line, so we
that shit is so surreal that like I keep it tucked away in the back of my mind. Like I did speak to Chris Claremont,
right? Yeah, like I talked to Chris Claremont. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
That was crazy, man.
Right.
Chick-fil-A with Mark Bagley. But
It's a deep cut, folks.
it is, yeah. We go on a lot of adventures.
We do.
And they're great.
Yeah.
And we just, we let you guys live vicariously through our
That's right.
random adventures.
We have fun here.
Except for today. Today, this is all at my expense. Fuck. This is really hard because now I'm running through like if I could delete one, right? Like what would better the superhero genre
that's the interesting rabbit hole, right? Because if
Yeah.
you delete Dark Phoenix,
We may have another X-Men by now.
yeah,
But like if I delete Fantastic Four or Fanforstic, I don't know. We might be on the same trajectory Fantastic Four wise.
yeah,
Or does Marvel attempt it sooner? Or shit, if either one of these, like let's just say we delete either one of them, does Fox even sell?
see that part too. But I think it's kind of like a 1-2 combo, right?
Yeah.
Because like Fanforstic obviously was not a financial winner. By the time we got to Dark Phoenix, the sale was already going through.
That's true, yeah. So with that in mind, I'm actually gonna say the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst is Fanforstic.
Oh, Fanforstic is your winner.
Do we really,
Wow.
cheers, really?
Okay, Fanforstic is your winner.
You suck!
Much more accurate.
I think that is very much appropriate. You know what's interesting? I couldn't find exactly where I did this with Kevin. Oh, okay, yeah, here it is. When I did this with Kevin, what ended up winning was Dark Phoenix.
Was Fanforstic had to been on the list.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was close, man.
it was. Kevin's list was slightly different from yours because it was a different time,
Right.
5 years ago.
We didn't have Madam Web.
We didn't have Madam Web. We didn't have Morbius. We didn't have a lot of these.
What was his last two? Were the finals? What was the finals?
It came down to Iron Man 3 and Dark Phoenix.
Oh, you sweet summer child. Iron Man 3 is terrible. I hate that movie.
Yep. Oh man, yeah, and oddly enough, I did include Fanforstic, but Fanforstic beat out Batman and Robin on Kevin's list. But then Iron Man 3 beat out Fanforstic, and okay. Yeah, so just looking at Kevin's list here, yeah, it was
I just thought I hated that movie, but maybe I don't hate it more than Kevin because I mean that's an easy choice to me. Like if I gotta watch one of those movies,
Yeah.
Fanforstic or Iron Man 3, I'm gonna watch Iron Man 3 every time. Cause like I don't like Iron Man 3, but I mean at least it's something. Like at least it's well put together. I
Right.
mean, I might disagree with it incredibly, but yeah, that's tough. I mean, at least Rhodey's in it, you know. It even before he was a Skrull.
that's true.
But like Jesus, man, Fanforstic is it's on a different level of bad. It's right down there with Dark Phoenix. Both of them, like I said, they're franchise killers.
Yeah. It would have been hilarious if Dark Phoenix won this one too. It's like, well, that's two different homies
Yeah.
at two different time periods.
Yeah, I mean, it's close, man.
Right.
It's just the bare bones. Like we're not scraping the bottom of the barrel. We broke through the barrel. We're scraping the pavement under the barrel. Yeah, I mean they're both god awful. Like honestly, if I could delete them both, it would be better for cinema as a whole.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, I wish we could, right? Just for the betterment of movies. And for Simon Kinberg and Josh Trank, definitely all the best to you guys. Hey, if nothing else, you gave us material to speak about tonight.
That's true. I mean, it's crazy how many of these films that like Simon Kinberg produced,
Yeah.
but like clearly had no idea what the fuck was any of it was about.
I has Simon Kinberg directed a movie since Dark Phoenix? I think he has, actually.
Has he? That's unfortunate.
Right.
I want to know. I want to know what Simon Kinberg is fucking doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think clearly his strong suit is producing and maybe writing. Directing, I don't really know if that's his strong suit. As far as Josh Trank goes, I know he did that Capone movie with Tom Hardy.
I haven't seen that. Is it good?
I haven't seen it either, but according to other reviews, no, it's not very good. So,
Let's see. They didn't even give him. Yeah, like on his IMDb, they don't even have.
oh wow,
They don't even have a director category for him.
maybe that's at his request.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe he's like, I just don't want anybody to know about this. He was also a producer on Fantastic Four.
Was he really?
Yeah,
That's incredible.
yeah.
Holy shit.
That's crazy. I wonder what he's listed as a producer on Dark Phoenix, but wasn't he the director?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he just doesn't even have a director section on his shit. So maybe he hasn't won any.
Wow.
Hasn't directed anything.
Let me see. Okay.
He has writer.
Yeah, there's only one other thing he's directed since then, and it's something called The 355,
Yeah, I saw that.
and that was in 2022. He directed, produced, and wrote that.
Well, that probably explains why we haven't heard of it.
Okay, it's a spy thriller. He brought back Jessica Chastain, so she wanted to work with him again.
Jesus.
Yeah, Penelope Cruz, Diane Kruger, Lupita Nyong'o.
Yeah, this
it's-
had to have been
so
awful.
Sebastian Stan. He's
we-
got a cast.
If we never seen it, it had to be awful.
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember hearing about this.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think I
okay.
remember seeing.
Well, it had a budget of between 40 and 75 million. The box office was 27.8 million. So unfortunately, it didn't.
It has a 24% on Rotten Tomatoes. So, oof.
Oof. Well, not to harp on Simon Kinberg. We were just curious. Curious.
We need to do a worst director's version of this, so we can throw Greg Berlanti in there.
Roast producer, yeah. We throw Greg Berlanti, John Peters.
Simon Kinberg. Kinberg's not going to lose that because he was on The Martian and Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past,
Yeah,
yeah. I think he did something with Logan.
Yeah.
He's got
Kinberg's fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine. Now some of these other people,
I'm gonna put Amy Pascal on there.
well, she produced some stuff.
I mean, fucking Morbius and Madam Web.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she definitely.
And she threw a sandwich at Kevin Feige.
She did throw a sandwich at Kevin Feige when he like proposed the most lucrative deal for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was nice of her.
So.
Caleb, man, I'm glad that you were such a willing sport to go on this harrowing venture.
This is tough, folks, but I'll do anything for the homies.
Hey, that's the kind of can-do attitude we need here at the Superhero Homies podcast. Man, who knows? Hopefully, in another 5 years, I won't feel the need to do this again.
Maybe in 5 years I'll do it to you.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, I mean,
But also, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm probably going to wait a few days after this episode drops, and then I'm going to post the actual tournament bracket online so they can get a visual breakdown of the choices you made
fantastic.
for
Yes.
2015.
Yep.
One. But yeah, man, I think that's all I got for this one, man. You got anything else?
No, I'm very much looking forward to our next episode, which is going to be the Suicide Squad Isekai review.
Oh yes, yeah. I'm really looking forward to you and the homie Dylan, keeping that one where it needs to be, because
I'm gonna tell you, like, I think Dylan liked it and then I think I ironically like it, because I'm just like right there in the middle where it's like I know the DC part of it, like I know the source material a good bit.
I'm glad that you do because they clearly
They don't, and then I also know kind of what the isekai aspect of it is supposed to be.
Yeah.
But like I don't give a fuck super much about either.
Yeah.
Like I care enough to know, but I don't care enough to care. You know,
I understand.
And therefore parts of it I actually really enjoyed because I kind of see what they were going for. It's an interesting spin on it. I get it. And then I just know fucking hate it. Like, I know that it probably irks the shit out of you.
You know, typically in situations like this, I try to be diplomatic and say it's like mixing steak with peanut butter. Like they both may be delicious, but together they don't match. I can't say that with this. This is like mixing castor oil with dog food. Like it none of it works. Period.
Is it Clayface? Is that the worst part for you?
It's one of the worst part. Clayface would be worse if he were the only one who didn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But he is Michael Jackson for some reason. Anyways, we'll get into that in a couple days.
It's going to be amazing, folks. Tune in for that one.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys haven't, maybe do yourself the favor, using quotation marks there, and watch Suicide Squad Isekai, at least a couple episodes so that you know what we're talking about. Yeah. Well, now that I got myself all excited for that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here, folks. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Have comic news, have Tournament of Power. Good times to be had around by all. This has been another fun episode, though, man. I had a blast with this.
Yeah, man, it was incredible.
So, we'll see you guys again very soon. But until next time, my name is Superhero Homie Q.
And I'm Superhero Homie Caleb.